The wild card round of the NFL playoffs is in the books as the Rams smoke the Vikings. Great win for LA. Obviously, with that community going on, it's a feel good win for the Rams to get that one. They move on to face the Eagles. We'll talk about that. Talk about the game tonight. And could Deion Primetime Sanders be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? It's more than a rumor right now. There is real reporting on this, and Deion himself has even commented. Stay tuned. We're going to dive into it all here on For Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Subscribe to the channel if you want more NFL playoffs coverage, daily updates on the coaching carousel around the league, some college football content as well. We are the channel for you. We're like 240 subs away from 6,000 subscribers. Let's get there. Let's keep the train rolling. We're not going anywhere. Daily content. We appreciate your love and your support. Okay. Rams 27, Vikings 9. I don't really know where to start with this other than it was pretty clear, pretty fast how this thing was going to go. Sam Darnold got sacked 9 times as the Vikings struggled to protect. He also was holding the ball too long. It really is kind of crazy that he was legitimately, statistically, and honestly eye test-wise, a fringe top 5 quarterback in the league this year until the last 2 games of the season. And it's not like he dipped to he played like the 15th best quarterback in the league the last 2 weeks. He played like the Darnold we saw for 5 years before he became a backup last year with the 49ers and got his reset this year. And he looked terrible. Didn't trust what he was seeing, missing throws, turnovers popped back into play the last couple weeks. Just bad, man. We're going to talk more about Darnold in a second, but this guy cost himself a ton of money the last 2 weeks. Stafford, steady, solid. I'll put my hand up. I thought the Vikings were going to bounce back. I completely undervalued the experience factor of McVay and Stafford. And something I really undervalued is this young Rams defense has been pretty good all year. It's really good right now. Their front is excellent. The secondary has quietly gotten better. Now Witherspoon got hurt in the second half. That's a key thing if he misses time. We'll keep an eye on that. But just steady Eddie. Kyron Williams did just enough on the ground, 76 yards. Stafford, 19 to 27, 209, 2 touchdowns. With how good the defense is playing, if he's taking care of the football and just making enough big throws, they're going to be in some games. I think they go into Philadelphia next week and compete. I wouldn't be shocked if they won that game whatsoever. I didn't think the Eagles were overly impressive against the Packers. Defense looked good, but Jalen Hurts was, he didn't turn the ball over, but he looked mediocre at best. If the Rams can slow down Saquon and make it a Hurts versus Stafford game, I kind of like the Rams. So we'll see. We'll talk more about previewing those games later in the week. But man, let's talk about Minnesota. I don't even know how you evaluate this season for the Minnesota Vikings. You start the season 14-2. You're playing the 14-2 Detroit Lions for the number 1 overall seed in Detroit. The Lions have injuries everywhere. It's kind of a decent spot to just let it rip on the road. You get bulldozed, and Sam Darnold, who's been awesome all year, story of the NFL, lays an egg. And you're like, okay, well, biggest game of his life. Understandable. Then you get to the playoffs, and you don't only not get the 1 seed, you fall to the 5 seed. You got to play the Rams. They've got this kind of everyone's rooting for them storyline with the fires in LA. They got to relocate to Arizona. And you're just uncompetitive. And you only lose to 2 teams all year, the Rams twice and the Lions twice, and your season's over just like that. I don't know how you evaluate this season for Minnesota. I mean, it was obviously a good year. Everybody picked them to be last in the NFC North, and they were a game away from winning the freaking division. They won 14 games. We're going to look back in 20 years, and there will be some broadcast that the Vikings will be playing on Monday Night Football or something, and somehow the 2024 Vikings will be referenced. But yeah, when Sam Darnold, one-hit wonder, led the Vikings to 14-3, and we're going to be like, wait, really? Oh yeah, I do kind of remember that. What a weird team. And you watch tonight and you're like, how did this team win 14 games? They can't run the ball. The offensive line against good fronts really struggles. Now they've had injuries up there. Not having Darisaw hurt them tonight. Brian O'Neill went down in the second half. But like, man, I think their whole season is really just Darnold's play. He was awesome all year, which is why they won 14 games. And then the two biggest games of the year, he was horrible and they were horrible. Like, they went as he went. And I know there's always going to be some truth to that with your quarterback, but the team was just how he played. That's what the results were. It really, really was. And when you get to Darnold specifically, what's next? I mean, this went from, are you going to consider trading JJ McCarthy and having to pay Darnold like 45 million a year, and you might even have to give him close to 50. Like 2 weeks ago, that's a real talking point. And now it's like, is he even worth the franchise tag? Even if you're trying to trade him, like, are you confident you could trade him if you put the tag on him for $41 million? Like, he might just walk in free agency. It's crazy how quick this has shifted. And it's crazy, the NFL, how fast things can change. Because I think teams across the league, even QB needy teams, are like, yeah, I'm interested in Sam Darnold, but, for 1 year and $20 million maybe, 2 years for 30, 15 a year. 2 weeks ago, it was like, this guy's going to get over $100 million on the open market on a 3+ year deal. Now, he'll get more than what he got this year, which was $10 million, but he may only get like 1 year, $20 million. It's unreal because teams are going to be nervous as hell. Like, for 6 years of this guy's career, he was considered a bust. For most of one season, he was awesome, but in the two biggest games, he looked like the bust. What do you do with that information? I think if you're the Vikings, it's simple. You're full steam ahead with JJ McCarthy. Now, based on the intel do you gather, do you place the tag on Darnold just to see if teams bite? And then if they don't, you could untag him, let him go. But I don't see Minnesota bringing him back. I just don't think that that's an option at this point. And it's crazy because for weeks it was like, how could you let him go? Well, that's how. When you play that bad for 2 games in a row, which isn't a large sample size, but when you add up the rest of his career, it's like, well, it's kind of who he was until this season. He reverted back. It's you feel for the guy. Like he just, I don't know if a player has cost himself more money in a 2-game span in any sport than this guy just did. I can't think of one. I really, really can't. So I wish him well. The guy seems like a hell of a worker and a good teammate and all that. And he'll make some money. It's not like he's going to sign for, again, he signed 1 year, $10 million. I got to assume he's getting more than that, but I would guess he's closer to 20 than he is the franchise tag 41 at this point. Now, teams are always desperate, but there's no question he's cost himself money. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. And last thought on the Vikings before we get to this Deion story. I think Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. And he's won 13 games or more twice in a 3-year period. Like, it's not like he's on the hot seat or something like that. But he lost to Daniel Jones and the Giants in his first playoff game, and he was completely uncompetitive tonight. I don't know. I think there are things he's got to improve at. He's got to figure out how to run the football. I don't know if that's scheme. I don't know if that's personnel. But when Sam Darnold's your quarterback, you got away with it with most of the season because Darnold was out of his mind. But when he falls back to earth, especially to the level he did, and you can't run the ball, you got no shot. Absolutely no shot. And in the playoffs, you got to be able to run the football. I think that's got to be a priority for Minnesota. You saw Green Bay do it by signing Josh Jacobs. Now, they lost in the first round, but it helped make them more balanced overall. Like, I think Minnesota, especially if you're going to turn to JJ too, who's essentially going to be a rookie, you're going to need a good running game. Like, putting JJ out there and having him throw 40 times a game, that's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. So we'll see where it all goes. The Darnold offseason storylines are going to be fascinating, but what a crash out. I mean, what an absolute crash out for the Minnesota Vikings. 10 years from now, what are people going to say about this team? I think people are going to forget the season even happened because it's just, it feels like such a fluke that they won 14 games. It really, really does. Okay. let's talk Deion and the Cowboys. It was announced earlier today by the Cowboys that Mike McCarthy are parting ways. We did a video earlier, Bears, Saints among the teams interested, so go check that out after this video if you want. This is A, so predictable for Jerry Jones, but B, I'm intrigued. And that's a word Deion used. Report about 2 hours ago, I'd say second quarter of the game tonight, Schefter, I think, puts the report out there that Jerry Jones and Deion have talked about the head coach opening. And then you're like, okay, here we go. Dallas is going to have another headliner offseason. And then about an hour later, and sorry for not looking up, I'm trying to find this quote. Here it is. Schefter puts out this tweet. It's a statement from Deion Sanders, head coach of Colorado. Quote, "To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful, and it's intriguing. I love Jerry. I believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder, everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community." That was not a turn down at all. Like, he's going out of his way. Yeah, I believe in Jerry. I have a relationship with him. I like Jerry. I like the Cowboys. He played for the Cowboys. He knows what the star means, that brand. Shador's going to the pros. Travis Hunter's going to the NFL. Like, I have no doubts he loves University of Colorado, the opportunity they gave him and what he's started to build there. But this would be the time to jump if a team's actually interested, right? Like, your son's going. Like, what if Jerry's like, hey, we'll try to get Shador? I know we just paid Dak Prescott, but, we could sit Shador for a season or even try to trade Dak next year. Otherwise, the cap hit this year it's over $100 million if they did it. It would be borderline insane to trade him. But if he really wants Deion, and if Deion wants the job, like he's on record saying, I'm not really interested in the NFL unless an opportunity arose where I could coach my son. This seems real. This seems like a real story. This doesn't feel like, this is just, Jerry does stuff sometimes to grab the headline. And of course, that's part of this. But I don't think he wants the one-day headline. He wants a headline every day. Deion in Dallas is a headline every fucking day. I think this is a real possibility. I really, really do. I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but it's greater than 5%, 30%. I think there's a real chance that we get the notification from Schefter or Rappaport or whatever when the Cowboys hire a head coach and that it's Deion Sanders. You could go as far as saying he's the favorite. Now, I would say it's him or Kellen Moore right now. I mentioned Cliff Kingsbury earlier. I think he could be in the mix. But if Deion wants the job, I think it becomes 50-50. Now, Jerry, they have to interview other candidates. They got to comply with the Rooney Rule. Even Deion would only be one external minority candidate, so they'd have to do one more. But Jerry typically, when he hires a new coach, he doesn't do an expansive search. He identifies one or two people and picks that person. Last time, he wanted Mike McCarthy. He got Mike McCarthy. Jason Garrett was an interim guy. He promoted him. Parcells, if I remember correctly, that was quick. Like, he's not like the Bears and the Jets and these teams interviewing 15 candidates, whatever. If he wants Deion as his guy, he's going to do everything he can to get him. And if he can't, he'll probably have 2 or 3 other guys that he'll want. Like Kellen Moore would probably be number 2 if Deion's his number 1. I got to tell you, I hope it happens. The entertainment level. And by the way, I'm not even saying that it couldn't work. I think it could. But whether it works or not, I think the entertainment value would be, you couldn't put a number on it. You couldn't put a value on it. And I think that's a big reason why Jerry wants to do it. A, he's got a relationship with Deion. He likes him. And B, I think he knows even if it doesn't work, his team's front and center once again. So buckle up. I am fascinated by this. And this story is only going to continue. And by the way, a separate report, Jordan Schultz said that this was before Deion commented that they've talked and that discussions are expected to continue. Like, this isn't just a catch up one time, just kind of throw it in the atmosphere to Deion, and then you never talk about it again. There will be more conversations between the Cowboys and Deion. You can take that to the bank. All right, before we get out of here, you comment. Will Dallas hire Deion Sanders? Yes or no? Your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm not ready to predict that it'll happen, but I think it's a possibility. I think it's a very, very real possibility. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button here on 4 Verts. More coverage to come. We'll see you guys next time.